He didn't even fire me to my face. I found out I was laid off by accident when I opened a meeting link I wasn't supposed to have access to. Calendar invite said budget optimization review, and I only clicked out of muscle memory while shoveling oatmeal into my mouth with one hand and highlighting error logs with the other. On screen, the CTO, 2 VPs, and a spreadsheet. Column C had names. Column D had color-coded cells. Mine, red, right? Unignorable arterial red. Next to it, the reason, non-revenue generating, cost center, R&D redundancy. I choked on a raisin. No one noticed I was there. They were too busy arguing over whether products should get to absorb my headcount. CTO Leonard, silver hair, lemon pucker face, said, frankly, she's brilliant, but we've squeezed what we need. Her models are live. She's now just upkeep. Just upkeep. Same man who 3 months ago stood in front of the entire company and called my framework the cornerstone of our data future now had me labeled like an expired yogurt. I left the meeting quietly. Didn't say a word to anyone. Just sat there, listening to the hum of my monitor, heart beating so loud I could feel it in my teeth. At 4:12 p.m., I got the official HR email. Restructuring. Difficult decision. Transition support. Attached was a PDF about Cobra coverage and an invite to a goodbye and gratitude Zoom at noon the next day. I didn't cry. Not even when my badge deactivated mid-swipe on the way to the bathroom and a confused intern had to let me in. But that night, as I sat in my apartment surrounded by plants I forgot to water and furniture I never picked out, I opened the vault. No, not a literal vault. My private cloud repo, one that never touched company systems, the one I started building during my insomnia months, back when my then-boyfriend used to mutter in his sleep about his ex-wife, and I needed somewhere to put my thoughts. Inside, everything. The prototype version of the framework they built the company around. The logs proving I coded it on my own hardware, months before the first company sprint even began. My notes. My pseudonym commits. The email I sent to myself, timestamped. I'd never signed the IP transfer. They never asked. Leonard had been too busy performing thought leadership on LinkedIn to check the paperwork. He liked to say things like act fast, paper later, so I acted. I printed a single sheet of paper and mailed it, certified, to legal. A statement of ownership with my digital logs appended. Then I locked the repo, set up a tracker, and waited. The next morning, I watched the chaos unfold from a burner Slack account. Dev teams couldn't access the core routing code. An alert went off in their CI/CD pipeline. Leonard sent out a frantic all hands. We're experiencing unexpected issues with our neural models. Stay calm. Solutions underway. That same day, I got a calendar invite from Leonard's EA. Subject, quick catch-up, no message. Just his name and the meeting time, exactly 5 minutes after they received the IP claim. I didn't click accept. I didn't click decline. I let the invite sit there like a ticking bomb in my inbox because I wanted Leonard to sweat. I knew he'd panic. Not because he respected me, but because the house of cards he built, pitch decks, investor calls, public grants, all leaned on tech he never understood. My code wasn't just a component, it was the spine. And I just proved it was mine. At 11:57 a.m., 3 minutes before the meeting, I got a message. Not from Leonard, from Kira, our lead counsel. A woman I once shared a lift with after a conference when we both got blackout drunk on gin and trauma bonding. Kira, 11:57 a.m., we had no idea. Let's talk, off record, please. So now she was calling it mine. I brewed coffee I didn't need, stared out the window of my apartment, thought about how silence tastes sweeter than revenge when you season it with anticipation. But I clicked join anyway. Leonard's face was already there, lit by what I assumed was some sad desk lamp. The man looked like he'd aged 10 years since Ibiza, collarbones visible, stress-eating tic-tacs. Emily, he said, with a smile so forced it might have been AI generated. Glad you made time. I muted myself, just stared. 1 Mississippi. 2, 10. Kira jumped. So, we've reviewed your submission. Very thorough. Really impressive, actually. Leonard squirmed. We assumed, naturally, that all proprietary developments were part of your scope here. I unmuted. You mean the scope you eliminated yesterday? That one? He cleared his throat. Let's not get bogged down in the past. What matters is where we go from here. I leaned in. Where you go is entirely dependent on how generous I feel today. Silence. Could practically hear Kira mouthing don't poke the bear off camera. He tried again. Emily, look. You were instrumental, still are. We want to make this right. Maybe even bring you back, this time with proper equity, a leadership title. I cut him off. No, deadpan, final. Then I dropped the first hammer. You've already violated IP protections. 3 counts minimum. Using the code post-termination without license access. That's dicey. Pushing it to production on public infrastructure. Risky move. Leonard's eyes twitched. We didn't. I held up my phone, showing a screenshot from the tracker ping. IP address, timestamp, repo activity, all roads led to their deployment pipeline. You did, I said, and I'm giving you 2 options. Neither of them include me coming back to play patch-up princess for the mess you created. Kira spoke fast, trying to salvage what scraps remained. What exactly are you proposing? I smiled then, not because I was happy, but because it was the first time in years I wasn't afraid of the people in the room. I'm proposing, I said slowly, that you buy a license from me. Leonard blinked. A license. That's right, I said, sipping my coffee. Quarterly, retroactive from last quarter. You know, when you demoed my code to the board. The next silence hit different. They thought they'd buried me in a cost center. Turns out, just become the most expensive asset they couldn't afford to lose. The next morning, I woke to 6 new emails, 3 from Kira, 1 from someone in procurement I didn't recognize, and 2 from Leonard. The subject line on his second one read, Urgent, Strategic Collaboration Framework Proposal Translation. Please don't bankrupt us. I made breakfast deliberately slow. Let the coffee steep until it bit back. Fried eggs until the yolk went hard, because I didn't want anything soft on a day like this. Then I opened Kira's message. We've reviewed your offer. Legal is interested in discussing license terms, including retroactive payment and future royalties. Please advise on your availability. No apology, no ownership. Just the polite scramble of lawyers trying to patch a hole in a sinking ship before water reached the stock options. I sent back a single sentence. I'll come in Thursday. I expect parking. I did, walked into HQ like a ghost, because no one had expected to see me back. Not after what Leonard did. People whispered. Some smiled like they wanted to ask what happened, but were too scared I might actually tell them. Security had no idea what to do. My badge still didn't work, so someone from admin came down and personally escorted me to the executive floor. I made them wait. Had to finish my Red Bull in the lobby. Leonard stood when I walked in. Kira didn't. I sat without being asked. There were already folders on the table. Legalese, term sheets, contract drafts, all trying to tame the beast they thought they buried. Let's talk numbers, Leonard said. No, I replied, let's talk context. Kira tilted her head. Excuse me? I reached into my bag and pulled out a printed screenshot, an old Slack message dated 6 months ago, when I first proposed the modular integration layer that became the company's backbone. In it, Leonard had written, if she can actually pull this off, we might not need to renew the AWS deal. Could save us millions. Keep this quiet until we lock it down. I slid the page across the table. I built something that replaced a $6 million dependency, I said calmly. Your reaction was to keep it quiet so you could undercut my compensation during renewal season. Leonard paled. I kept going. You didn't just forget to ask me for IP rights. You deliberately hid the value of my work so you could bury me under the org chart and justify my exit as cost reduction. Kira opened her mouth, then shut it. I took out another sheet, a receipt. Leonard's speaking engagement at DisruptSF. He demoed my code live on stage, calling it our proprietary quantum-agnostic optimization layer. He used my tech for investor bait, I said, and he did it after HR already had my severance package drafted. The air went still. Emily, Kira said softly, if we could just know, I snapped. We're past soft landings. I'm not here to make this easy. I'm here because I know exactly how much leverage I have, used my brain as scaffolding, and thought I wouldn't notice. So here's what happens next. I handed over a new set of terms. 7-figure licensing deal, royalty percentage on any product using my framework, a permanent footnote credit in every future patent filing derived from the architecture, and just for flavor, a one-time public acknowledgement from the board. Leonard looked like he was about to throw up. Kira exhaled like someone signing a deal with the devil and praying she doesn't collect too fast. No one spoke for a full 30 seconds. Then I leaned back in the chair, crossed one leg over the other, and said, let me know if you'd prefer to fight this in court instead. I already drafted my Medium post. The headline, they called me a cost center. Now I own their core algorithm. Leonard blinked twice. Kira reached for her pen. Checkmate. I hadn't even opened the other vault yet. The deal went through. Of course it did. They didn't even haggle. Not really. Leonard tried to flinch at the royalty clause. 15% feels aggressive, he muttered, as if I hadn't just saved them from spontaneous investor combustion. But Kira kicked him under the table so hard his water glass jumped. 3 days later, I had a signed agreement in my inbox and a 6-figure wire transfer in my account. First of many. But I wasn't done. See, I hadn't just kept receipts. I'd kept records, not out of paranoia, not at first, more like survival. When you're a woman building back-end systems around men who only understand slide decks and buzzwords, you get in the habit of archiving, of BCCing your future self. I had notes, versions, time-stamped architecture proposals, even a voice memo of Leonard whispering, "Can we just say this came from the team?" After I demoed the neural fork reroute in a one-on-one, and I had the vault. I told them I had one prototype. That was only partially true. I'd forked that code base twice, once for them, once for me, and my version didn't just optimize for latency, it predicted it, learned user patterns, self-adapted. They never saw it. I never showed them. Because why would I hand over the gold while they were still weighing the dirt? So I waited. 3 weeks passed, kept quiet, watched their public roadmap shift to accommodate the licensing deal. Watched Leonard give another smug quote to TechCrunch. It's always smart to invest in homegrown innovation. Homegrown, my ass. The man couldn't debug a for loop if you tattooed the stack trace on his eyelids. And then, on a random Tuesday afternoon, I got a DM, not from Kira, not from legal, from the new head of product. Sophia, 3:44 p.m. Hey, this is off the record. But did you know we just filed a provisional patent based on your architecture? Leonard's name is listed as lead inventor. I stared at the screen, blinked once. Then I laughed. It started as a dry cough, became a wheeze. Full-on wheezing, gasping laughter that scared my neighbor's cat off my balcony. They weren't just greedy, they were stupid. I didn't reply to Sophia. Not yet. I needed time. Because that provisional filing violated Clause 7 of the licensing deal. The one that clearly stated any derivative works must be registered under shared intellectual authorship. And Leonard had signed it, with his full legal name. So now, not only had they just handed me money for tech they didn't even understand, they'd also just breached the contract that protected them. Leonard didn't realize he hadn't buried me. He'd built me a launchpad, and with that new breach in my hand, I knew exactly how I'd respond. Not with a lawsuit, not with threats, with a pitch. Because while they were busy choking on their own lies, I'd quietly incorporated, formed my own LLC, registered the actual version of my framework under a new name. And the thing I was building, it didn't need their infrastructure or their money. It just needed one well-timed announcement. And I had the perfect audience waiting. Every investor they lied to, every client they overpromised, every dev who saw their work go unnoticed. Because the next move wasn't to take them down. It was to make them irrelevant. It dropped on a Thursday. No press release, no teaser trailer, just a single, clean LinkedIn post from a verified new company page that nobody had ever heard of, introducing Rendex Systems, real-time adaptive neural routing, built from the ground up for privacy, latency, and scale. Open for partnership. Demo slots available. Emily Voss, founder and inventor. No hashtags, no fluff, just a quiet nuke. Within 6 hours, the company inbox was full. 37 demo requests. 9 were from former clients of Leonard's company. 1 was from their current largest partner, Veritech, whose CTO had emailed me personally within minutes of the post going live. Emily, we've been watching your work. If you're free this quarter, let's talk licensing, possible acquisition. By sundown, I had a voicemail from Sophia. She sounded panicked. Emily, I don't know what's happening, but Leonard's been pacing like a raccoon in a cage. He's calling it industrial sabotage. I think he's about to lose it. Just a heads up. I didn't respond, but I did send a certified letter to their board of directors the next morning. It contained a copy of the breach clause, a time-stamped copy of Leonard's patent filing, a formal notice of contract termination due to bad faith actions. Retroactive, which meant the licensing deal was dead. All rights reverted back to me. Every bit of code they were running was now unauthorized. Every pitch they made containing my framework, false advertising. Every client paying for performance driven by my work, legal exposure. I gave them 48 hours to shut it down. They gave me 19 hours of silence. Then, 3:08 p.m. Friday, I got the email, forwarded by Sophia from a C-suite thread. Subject line, urgent, system stability and legal strategy. In it, Leonard wrote, "There's no way she has the leverage to pull the framework. Will claim misrepresentation. Paint her as a disgruntled ex-employee. Kill this before it gains traction. No doctor, in front of my name. No mention of my patents, just disgruntled. Like I was an emotional hiccup, not the woman who literally architected the beating heart of their tech. So I did what any rational, disgruntled ex-employee would do. I leaked the real specs. Not the whole framework, just enough. Just the performance benchmarks Rendex was pulling in: 32% faster routing, 41% lower latency, 2.5x user throughput on minimal compute. Tested, signed, verifiable. Posted it to Hacker News under a throwaway. Within an hour, it was on the front page. By midnight, the comments were flooding in. This crushes the VOS framework numbers that Redacted Corp demoed last quarter. Where can we get a license? Wait, did she build their core system? At 1:14 a.m., I got a message from a burner Proton mail address. You win. Please call me. Leonard, no punctuation, no subject line, no spine. He didn't know yet that I hadn't even launched the demo portal. That came next. But first, I needed to send one more email to the lawyer who notarized my IP claim. Subject: new claim filing patent infringement and misrepresentation attachment. A full recording of the Disrupt SF presentation, where Leonard says on stage, "We built this ourselves." Except the watermark on the demo screen, it said VOS R1 privatabled. Clear as day. So no, Leonard, I didn't win, you forfeited. By Monday morning, Leonard was bleeding from both ends, figuratively, though I wouldn't be shocked if it turned literal. The demo watermark scandal hit tech digest like gasoline on a grease fire. They ran the headline in bold red letters: Redacted Corp accused of infringing ex-employees' IP. VOS R1 identified in CEO's keynote demo. The article pulled no punches. Screenshots, timelines, legal interpretations from 2 IP attorneys and a Stanford ethics professor. And the final quote: "If proven, this isn't just misattribution, it's fraud, plain and simple." By noon, their LinkedIn company page had turned into a war zone. Investors asked for statements. Commenters dragged Leonard like roadkill in July. But me, I was already 2 steps ahead. I launched the Rendex demo portal at 12:01 p.m. Simple interface. Clean black on white. 1 upload field. 1 metric dashboard. It let dev teams run their own test scenarios, benchmark against legacy routing protocols, and compare the output live. Every upload came with a disclaimer. This technology is protected by IP filings held by Emily Voss and Rendex Systems LLC. Unauthorized use is subject to litigation. In the first hour, 212 demos were initiated. By 5 p.m., over 1,300. Redacted Corp's clients were jumping ship like rats from a flaming carnival ride. I recognized some of the email domains, big players. Institutions that wouldn't touch tech with legal stink on it if you paid them in Bitcoin and hookers. And then I got the letter. A desperate, bloated 17-page PDF from Redacted Corp's internal counsel, not Kira. She'd quietly resigned the day before. It was titled, "Request for Mediation and Ceasefire. Proposal for Amicable Licensing Adjustment." Translation: please, for the love of God, let us pay you to stop peeling the skin off our reputation in public. They wanted me to reinstate the license, drop the lawsuit threat, help co-announce a new partnership where I'd be named Chief Innovation Officer, given a $2M signing bonus, and back pay for missed attribution. I laughed so hard I accidentally inhaled my tea. I emailed back exactly 9 words: offer rejected. You may speak to my counsel. Because here's the thing, I'd seen too much. Meetings behind closed doors. The way they dangled credit like a treat for obedience. The way they used me. They didn't want resolution. They wanted insulation. Too late, I was fire now. And while Leonard was busy hiring a crisis PR firm to scrub Voss from every search result, I was on a video call with Veritex board. They didn't want a license. They wanted Rendex. Full buyout. 9 figures. All me. And Leonard still thought this was about revenge, but he never understood. This wasn't vengeance. This was liberation with a term sheet. The buyout closed on a Wednesday, quietly. No confetti, no press junket, just a 10:42 a.m. DocuSign and a direct transfer so large my bank called twice to ask if I was being trafficked. Veritech didn't just want Rendex, they wanted me unchained. No overlords, no pitch decks, no staged LinkedIn selfies with hash women in tech hashtags posted by men who wouldn't survive 10 minutes in their own dev environment. They gave me 3 things: a black card, a clean lab, and one directive: build whatever the hell I wanted. But first, I needed to bury Leonard. Not figuratively. I mean, yeah, not literally either. But it had to be public. Loud. Enough that no other exec would ever call someone like me a cost center again without tasting copper. I called in a favor. Remember Sophia, the product lead who warned me? She was now transitioning out of Redacted Corp, NDA in hand. Severance frozen. Leonard was icing everyone who showed even a flicker of spine. I offered her triple her old salary, a full equity vest, and one more thing, the microphone. Veritech sponsored a keynote slot at the Global Dev Core Conference. Prime time, packed house. We announced it last minute. No promo. Just a title, Truth in Architecture, a case study. Emily Voss. When I walked on stage, there was an audible pause. Like the whole room recognized my name but couldn't quite place it. And then the first slide went up. It was the Voss R1 watermark. Under it, a screenshot of Leonard's Disrupt presentation. Paused on the exact frame where my code was live in the background. And below that, they said I didn't matter, that I was replaceable, so I replaced them. The crowd went dead silent. And then I told the whole damn story. Not the petty version, not the rage-soaked Reddit monologue, the systemic version. How companies exploit non-revenue talent. How IP is stolen through silence and assumption. How women get applauded in private and erased in public. And then I showed them what Rendex really did. The adaptive sequencing, the predictive caching. Live demo rerouting traffic from 3 major cloud providers using 40% less compute in real time. The applause started slow. Then it boomed. People were standing, cheering, whistling. I saw 2 investors shake hands in the 3rd row, and backstage, Sophia handed me her phone. Look, Leonard had tweeted, a desperate thread trying to reframe the narrative. Proud to have mentored brilliant minds like Emily. Sometimes the student surpasses the teacher, except the replies were already ratioing him into oblivion. You fired her. You stole her work. She built you. By morning, Redacted Corp stock dropped 18%. By Friday, they'd lost 3 contracts. By Monday, Leonard's name was pulled from their investor slide deck. And me, I went back to my lab, because revenge burns fast. But building something better, that fire lasts forever. 2 weeks later, Leonard sent me flowers. Not the romantic kind. Please stop ruining me kind. 12 confused-looking white lilies in a vase, so generic it practically whispered bulk corporate apology. No card. Just a post-it note stuck to the side. No hard feelings. Let's both move on. I didn't move on. I moved past. C, I didn't need to destroy Leonard. I just needed to make sure every investor, intern, and board member in tech knew what happens when you bet against the quiet one in the hoodie. I watched Redacted Corp shrivel like a balloon left in a hot car. Leonard stepped down to focus on personal projects. Kira opened her own law firm. Guess who her first client was? Me. Sophia became Rendex's VP of product. And the tech, the real tech, it's rolling out next quarter with 3 Fortune 500 contracts and a pilot in the EU's Green Data Initiative. We call it Echo, because it learns from everything, especially silence. As for me, I finally slept through the night, not because I won, but because I never needed their permission to matter. They saw a cost center. What I gave them, what I gave myself, was value they couldn't steal, name they couldn't bury, and legacy they'll choke on every time someone says, wait, isn't this based on the Voss framework? Yeah, it is. And I trademarked the question. Appreciate you sticking around, you wise old rebels. Smash that subscribe button, or this fossil might just cause another epic fiasco.